So when asked by Lena what I wanted to cover, what I really wanted to talk about was climbing mountains. And so let me get to a screen share. And you're probably like, what in the heck is this lady talking about? So as soon as I can get to my slide deck, this is not my talent. Let's see. Cool. We're going to go over lessons I learned climbing mountains. You may be like, what in the world is this chick talking about? What I really want to go over with you today is I feel like when I give my statistics and I start talking about who we are as an organization, it looks like, man, that's this really big business. And it seems kind of unachievable when you're just starting or when you're building, and unclear how we got there. But what I want to take you through is really steps I took and lessons I learned while developing this business. So maybe you're starting out, maybe you're in a building phase, you're building momentum, you've had some success and you're building some momentum. There will be parts of this in lessons learned that I think you can take. Maybe you're adding leverage, and we'll be talking about that a little bit, touching on that. Or maybe you've had some success and you're worried about doing it again. And I've been through all those steps in building this team. So I want to talk about what that actually takes as you are climbing those mountains. First of all, I was brought the idea or the experience of mountain climbing because I dated a guy who I actually moved to Texas A&M for, and it is not the guy I married. But he introduced me to rock climbing. And if you know anything about me, you know, like that's totally not my lifestyle, my jam. However, I really did enjoy it. This guy, though, slept on the side of rocks. Like he would go rock climbing for days and sleep on the side of a mountain in like a tiny harness, and then he would keep climbing for days and days, right? So very different than who I am. However, I was like flexing to be this person that he wanted me to be. And
Does the sound bother you?
Nope.
It was then, y'all are not on mute. It was then that I learned that it's really important to be authentic and to climb your mountain, right? And so I know that relates to real estate because I get asked a lot. Probably the question that I hate when I'm being interviewed is, what do you like to do for fun? Because my answer is so lame, and I love real estate and I love the people that I get to do real estate with. And so truly selling real estate and being with a team is what I love to do for fun. And there are some other hobbies that I have, but if you really love what you do, you'll never work a day in your life. That's a really famous quote. If you love what you do, you'll never work a day in your life. But I do find that really is the secret to never working, is just loving what you do. And so between work and family and all of that, when I get breaks, I do, check emails and love what I do and build up people. And I love taking calls from our team because it's just really honestly what I love. So if you find what you love and you lean into that and you're authentic about who you are, it's just not that hard to climb your mountain. It ends up being fun. So with that said, I talked a little bit about where I started. Again, I had no sphere, I had no real estate experience. And I thought, man, this was a really good idea to get into real estate, right? So I've got a little story for you. And it was, I started in August of 2013. So it was October of 2013. And I signed up for Bold. And if any of you have taken Bold, you know that it's a lead generation boot camp. It is a business systems boot camp. And a mindset boot camp. And I thought this will be a really good idea. I've been too much in the industry, just coming off being a stay-at-home mom. This should be fun. Not at all. I really didn't know what I'd signed myself up for. And on the second step of Bold, our coach, Kate Patulski, asked us, what is the voice inside your head that's keeping you from achieving what you desire to achieve? And she had us write that out. Cool. So, and then we shared it with our table. And at this point, the voice in my head when I started and said I was going to get into real estate was my dad's. And if you know anything about me, I live with my dad, I love my dad. However, he does sometimes point out the negative, and I think it's out of love that he's trying to protect you. And I think a lot of us have those type of loved ones. But my dad told me, you start things and you don't finish them. This is another thing you're starting and you're not going to finish. And that really got in my head. And that just rolled around when I went to make dials. And it was the way that I talked poorly to myself. It was like, see, my dad was right, or see, I do start things and don't finish them. And so that was the voice rolling around in my head. And so I shared that with my group, burst into tears, that this was the voice rolling around my head and keeping me from achieving my potential. And then Kate decided, who I'm actually about to go spend a week with next week, which is a really big honor. But Kate Patulski, our Bold coach, decided to call on different people that should stand up and share their story. And so obviously being tears, she decided that I should share mine, which is insane. And I told her that the voice inside my head is my dad's, and it's saying you start things and you don't finish them. And it was this really cool moment for me because Kate talked to me about how to finish things and how to prove that I'm a finisher. And so the first thing she said you're going to do is you're going to finish today at Bold. You're not going to leave. You're not going to quit. You're going to finish today at Bold. And then the next thing that you're going to do is you're going to do your 100 connects next week. And you're going to do all your homework next week, and you're going to show back up. So you're going to finish the week. First, you're going to start with finishing today, then you're going to finish the week, and then you're going to finish this Bold class and you're going to graduate. It's 8 sessions, 100 connects a week. It's a pretty rigorous program, especially for a new agent, right? And you're going to finish that and you're going to prove you're a finisher. And then you're going to set another goal and you're going to finish that and you're going to prove you're a finisher there. So that was really powerful for me, because I just think about what if that voice would have stayed in my head and the company that we have today wouldn't have come to fruition because of that. And so here's the thing. We all start from the bottom with doubts and fears. So if you're in that place of a starting place and you're like, what did I get into? Why am I doing this? Why did I think I could do this? The test was easy, but now I'm having to call these people. You're not alone. We've all started there. Every single person on this call, every single person in this organization started there. So we all start from the bottom and we all start with our doubts and fears. And then secondly is the voice in your head can be your own coach or your own critic. You get to decide what that's going to be. That's actually a quote from my coach, Jordan Freed. And he talks a lot about, are you being your own coach or are you being your own critic? And so for that day, Kate Patulski was my coach for the day, but that started to become the coach inside my head was, you're going to finish this and then you're going to finish this and you're going to prove to yourself every single time that you're a finisher. My third lesson was get a good coach or mentor to offer you perspective so you can go faster, farther, and farther. And this is really important because oftentimes we get so inside of our head or we get our single point of view that we can't see more than what's going on. And it's really important for a coach that has a high level view to be able to look down on our business, whether that is your business partner with your team or somebody outside of your organization, maybe with forward coaching, who can have this bigger perspective on what you're doing and what your behavior is to just help you get out of your own way. And so there's been a ton of times in building this business and climbing this mountain that I found that I needed to get out of my own way and get out of my own head so we could go farther faster. A good coach or a mentor will be able to offer that for you. So I've got another story for you, and that's what led me to partnering with Place. Back in, it was 2020 when we partnered with Place, February 2020, so before the world shut down. So it was 2019 when I had the opportunity to be on stage with Gary Keller at Family Reunion on the big stage. And actually that's where I met Adelina. And we were talking about Keller Mortgage and the savings and the opportunity that gave our clients and how we were building our business. It was like peak moment for my career at that point. I thought this is as good as it's ever going to get, right? And then some really negative things came after that. And basically I realized that I was doing what I love and I was scaling a mountain, but it was the wrong mountain. Like this was a flawed experience. And it was built on a bad foundation and it was never going to amount to anything. So, shortly after, about 6 months after, I went to Amplify, and Via, who is also with Place, was there, and she was interviewing 3 women, and she talked about the incredible thing about these 3 women is that they all had climbed a mountain, and they were doing very well in their career and where they were at. However, all 3 had realized that they were on the wrong mountain, and they then had the courage to climb down the mountain they were on and rest for a minute, but then turn around and start climbing the next mountain. And y'all are going to think that all stories end with me in the middle of a room of strangers in tears, but here's another one where I was just sobbing because I had realized that I had finally achieved my desire, which is speaking, training, coaching. And I realized I was on the wrong mountain, and I had to let go of what I loved to start all over. And so I called Via after Amplify, and I told her this has been my experience, and it's not a direction that I can stay in. I need to go from here. And she introduced me to Ben. And so that is where I saw an opportunity that would, yes, 1, require me virtually starting over in my path, but 2, it was a better foundation with a mentor that was actually going to deliver on what he committed to. So that was really powerful for Ben and Chris as I interviewed them. And I knew that this was a good foundation to build not only our business or partner our business with, but to start building the rest of my career on. So the next lesson I learned was to be willing to climb down and start out over. And this was regardless of the opinions of others. So I mentioned that I was on stage because then everybody that has ever been at Keller Williams friend requests you on Facebook. I was being flown across the country to travel, train, speak, teach, do mastermind classes with top agents throughout the country. I was literally living my life goals. And it was big to me. The opinions of everybody else weighed heavily on me. What is everybody going to think? Because I basically went quiet and started over, put my head down, and worked on my goals, our goals, getting the team up and running with Place's platform. And so it was really important that I be willing to do this regardless of the opinions of others, including I had a lot of people asking, why would you ever join an expansion? Expansion wasn't thought of then like it is now, or even being a team. Being on a team at the time made you weak. Now it means you have an incredible platform to achieve things for your clients, and teams are very selective about who they actually partner with. So it's a big honor. But I was really afraid of what the opinions of others were at a time, but I knew I couldn't stay where I was. So the other thing that my coach taught me in this time was to not author the opinions of others. We oftentimes think that so many other people are thinking about us, and they're really not, no more so than we're thinking about them. And that was a big lesson to me of they don't care. They're not noticing, they don't care. So don't author the opinions of others, and be willing to start over regardless of what their opinions are, because they don't get to live your life. My other thing was, if you ignore the red flags, which I had plenty of red flags very early on, you'll just be higher on the wrong mountain with further to fall and less desire to climb again. So I had, made it at this and invested and put all my eggs in this basket, and really had to start over with building again. And I wish I had taken up, hey, here's some red flags. I need to transition, and I need to go build this business somewhere more stable that can benefit us. So that was a big lesson that I learned in that. And then also just having the courage to climb a new mountain. The thing about starting over, wherever you are in your career, we have an agent on our team that this is her second career. She's 70 years old, and she's our second top producing agent on our team, right? There's no right time to achieve your goals. Don't compare yourself to others' journey. You have no idea what their personal life is like. You have no idea what's going on in their life. So throw out the timeline. If you've given yourself 5 years and it takes 6, who cares? If you've given yourself 4 years and it takes 10, who cares? You'll get there when you get there. It takes whatever it takes. So whatever timeline for success you've authored in your head, throw that out. You'll get there when you get there. It takes what it takes. That's not to say we shouldn't have goals and work towards those goals, but don't be frustrated if something happens and it takes a little bit longer. For example, COVID hits and you're starting your career. I had 2 agents that were that way. and it was really rough for them. And they maintained part-time jobs until, they could get fully in the business, because things became very hard for 3-6 months. So whatever timeline it takes, you're going to appreciate the success long-term. You're going to appreciate the results long-term. Don't get frustrated. Throw out whatever timeline you have in your head and keep moving towards the goal. Also, put your head down and fight your battle in silence. This was big to me it's not my job to defend what I'm doing. It's my job to go achieve results for the people in our organization that rely on me every day to get to success. So put your head down, fight your battle in silence. And you know what? When you do the right things in the right sequential order that we're trained to do at Place, your numbers will speak for themselves. So there's no need to defend yourself. Just keep moving and your numbers are going to speak for themselves someday. Keep your head down. Also, when you get there, act like you've been there. Act like it's not a big deal. Act like you've been there. But it's awesome, right? So put your head down, fight your battle in silence, let your numbers be reflective. If anybody says that being an expansion partner means you're lesser or you have a smaller business or whatever the case was authored 3, 4, 5 years ago, I dare them to point at Adelina. I dare them to point at Jacqueline, right? Their numbers speak for themselves. They don't need to argue. So all that effort you're putting into defending yourself or justifying what you're doing, put into your work and your numbers will speak for themselves. The other thing that I want to talk about along the way, these are all very professional things. But the other thing that I want to talk about is more of a personal item that was a mountain that I had to climb by myself. So back in January of 2018, let's start way back. So I played volleyball all through high school. And then I played Junior Olympics. I even had a scholarship to play in college at a little small school in my hometown. And then I went on to ref volleyball in college, which is where I met my husband, and even coach Junior Olympic volleyball after college. So clearly volleyball was everything involved in my life. Then after that time when I was selling real estate and couldn't do that anymore, I just played recreational with friends and family and for fun. But it was on the volleyball court that I first tore my ACL. So I went down, I went up for a hit and I went to jump and my knee buckled. And basically a few days later after an MRI, found out that I had torn my ACL. So I needed an ACL replacement. And I opted to go with a donor tissue of a ACL. And so basically someone who had passed away and donated all their organs and everything, they use every part of the body. And one part that I was going to use was the ACL. So I had my ACL replacement, which I don't know if anybody's ever had an ACL or knee replacement, but the surgery is not that bad. And the injury is actually not that bad or painful, but the recovery is what is god awful. It is a year of just intense pain and physical therapy. I liken it to taking a paper clip and unbending it and then trying to bend it back in its original form. It's just the most horrid pain you've ever felt, trying to get your knee back to bending straight, bending straight, bending straight. And then get your strength back that you've lost, because it's amazing how fast our muscle deteriorates when we're not using it. So I had this knee surgery. Great. I am a year later. I've set all these milestones. I even had a presentation at an awards and I was able to walk across stage, et cetera. So this is January of 2018. And then July of 2019, I am back to playing volleyball. It's been a year and a half since surgery and I've been released for about, 6 months. I'm back to playing volleyball and I go up to hit a ball and again, my knee buckles and I come down on the floor. So basically I find out within that week of MRIs and everything that my body has rejected the donor ACL replacement and I have to do my ACL replacement all over again. And to say that devastation and depression were rampant in my life would be an understatement. It was one of the hardest mental battles I've probably ever fought, having to go through the pain of ACL replacement and rehab again. But also I was the only listing agent on our team and I needed to take 100 listings in a year. and have an ACL replacement and rehab and all of that. So we quickly came up with a plan, and I went into surgery to cover the team. But a big part of my healing journey was the people on the team that called me and said, "We miss you. When are you coming back?" And honestly, without them, I probably would have quit. I probably would have quit most things in my life. So my lesson there is that sometimes you find yourself at the top of your mountain only to realize that there's another peak that you still need to reach. And that can be devastating. So celebrate your achievements, but also realize that it was never the purpose. The achievement, the certificate that feels good for 15 seconds was never the purpose. The journey and who you became along the journey, along with who you traveled beside on the journey, are the whole purpose of climbing the mountain. So it's really about who you get to take with you, who you get to climb beside, and who you learn to love and who you learn to become in the process. Don't be so obsessed with the goal, hitting the goal. It only feels good for about 15 seconds, and then it's December and you turn around and it's January and the goal starts all over. Fall in love with who you become along the journey. My last lesson is success happens when preparation meets opportunity. And maybe you're at a crossroads where you've had a good amount of success in 2020 or 2021, and you're wondering if you can really do it again. We're coming off the slow time of year. Your self-confidence is probably a little bit shaken because this is the time of year when it happens, right? But I know you're making your dials. I trust that you're making your connects. You're doing your activity necessary to be successful. And summer is right around the corner when things really speed up and help you achieve your goals. So remember that it wasn't just lucky. You prepared and the right opportunity came along. Continue to keep your head down and prepare. And when opportunity presents itself, it will tap you on the shoulder and you'll have the same success that you had before, especially when you're focused on the journey and who you're becoming. The activities you're doing, maybe it's lead generation. Going back to my story about bold, proving that you're a person that lead generates. If the voice in your head, if the inner critic in your head, turn them into an inner coach. If they're saying you don't lead generate, or you don't follow up on your commitments, or you don't have enough business, right? You figure out what it takes and your commitment, and you keep those commitments to yourself, whether it be through your morning lead gen, whether it be, the appointments you're going to have this week. You keep those tiny promises to yourself, and eventually you're going to become a promise keeper. You're going to become a successful person. You're going to become the type of person that people want to do business with because you tell somebody you're going to call them on March 31st, and you pick up the phone and you call them on March 31st. And suddenly you're a person that keeps your commitments, and that's who they want to do business with. So keep preparing, wait for that opportunity. And it wasn't just a one-time, one-hit wonder. You're going to have success again. So that's it for what I have. But I would love to hear from you guys and tell me if you got anything from today and if there's anything I can help you with.
Hey, Jordan, it's Sharon. I'm curious because I know you coach. Did you ever have a coach that you started with that you didn't stick with? And how did you find Jordan in a way that really met your needs?
Jordan wasn't always the coach he is today. In fact, there was a time when I stopped coaching with Jordan, and my husband, who was in the business at the time, coached with him. And I actually switched to another coach to coach me on listings. And Matt was being coached on running the business with Jordan. And kind of an interesting story. So I had this coach for listings, and our conversion was like 35% taken for listings. It was terrible. And so we revitalized our entire listing process, and we got the conversion up to 85% with this coach, but she drove me absolute bonkers. And the whole team knew when I coached with her that I was going to be on edge and I was going to have a crappy day. And therefore they had a crappy day because I was on edge. And so I eventually ended up letting go of that coach. And when Matt got out of the business, I went back to coach with Jordan Freed, who told me he didn't think he could coach me. And so we had to have a really crucial conversation on, I don't take coaching and just get off the phone and be like, yay, I love being wrong. Like sometimes I have to have some time and digest it, and I won't be happy. So I may just Be like, okay, I have to go now and get off the phone. When I realize that it's something within me that needs to change. And I told him, if you can be okay with that, we can continue to coach together, because I'll always come back around full circle and take full accountability and make the changes. And so what we found is that Jordan and I really grew together, which is very, very, very unusual to have a coach for 4 or 5 years. It requires not only that the coach grow and develop and really listen to you, but that you grow and develop. I also tried another coach last year and I ended up not working with her. And one of the things for me, Sharon, was that she didn't listen to me. She had a preset program on what she was going to coach all of her clients because she was trying to be efficient, and that doesn't work for me. And so I needed somebody who was going to sit down and find out what was going on in my world and coach to that. And that requires a higher level of skill, right? That you understand, and whatever comes at you, you can have a conversation and ask great questions around that. Is that helpful?
Yeah, I think that was perfect. I think part of it is the self-actualization, that you realize what your role was in that and knowing what you needed in order to make coaching valuable to you. Yeah.
Yeah. And a lot of Jordan Freed's material is from us coaching together, which is really cool, because that's one of the things that I'm traveling and teaching is his material, which we've developed together through 4 or 5 years of coaching. Awesome. Anybody else get anything from today?
I really like what you said about you realize you were on the wrong mountain, which I heard you say that before, but not like the full story. So thanks for sharing that. But definitely like the whole idea of once you realize or like get an inkling, oh crap, I'm climbing up the wrong mountain. Like no shame in climbing down and figuring out which mountain to climb. And I like what you said, that like the higher you climb, the less likely you are to get down and want to climb the next mountain. So like it's totally okay to just fail if you're just not happy.
Yep, 100%. I love that. Thank you, gossips. What you got, V?
I just like that you share that success happens when preparation meets opportunity, that there's really no such thing as luck, that you've been practicing in the dark with your head down for years. And then once opportunity knocks, then you can be successful because you've prepared for it.
Mm-hmm. You're the queen of that.
Do I need to raise my hand?
No, come on, Katie.
Okay. I like just the idea of how sometimes you do have to get to the top of the mountain to be able to see the other mountain. So I like that visual. That works.
Yeah. And if you find that next mountain defeating, then you didn't enjoy the journey. And what was the purpose? That next mountain should be inspiring and exciting because it's a new journey to go on and who you get to go together with. What you got, Bart?
To Jordan's credit, when she decided to change mountains, she had a lot of notoriety, especially locally, but even kind of on a national scale. And it was a big deal locally. It took so much humility to decide, nope, this ain't for me. I'm going to go this way instead. And there was a lot of criticism behind her back, and maybe to her also, but definitely behind her back. There was a bunch of criticism when she decided to change that mountain. It takes so much humility to do what she did. Also, Jordan, before you cried, I made a comment that there were lots of tears around here. So thanks for proving me right.
Casey.
Yeah, that's so funny. There's a lot of tears around here too. You're not alone. Yeah, I had 2 big takeaways. I love these. One was the voice in your head can either be your biggest coach or your biggest critic. That was really cool, and I'm sealing that. And then I love the note about not authoring the opinions of others, right? Oftentimes we are just not as important to them as we think we are. And I really like that. Like,
well, if you think about too, like how much my coach said to me one day, all these people are walking around and they wonder what you think about them. And I was like, what? Why do they care what I think about them? And he goes, why do you care what other people think about you? And I'm like, oh yeah. Okay. So you're right. Yeah. Thank you, Casey. Anybody else? Katrina said Mile was throwing out the timeline, but being
Jordan.
true to myself. And hang on just a second, Jaime.
Yep.
Oh wow, that showed up weird. Being consistent, true to myself, and keep doing the work. Cool. What you got? Sorry, Jaime.
I want to dig more into the mindset, because I remember, you were involved with some pretty high level people, and that was, I can just imagine what that decision was like. Can we get into like your self-talk, like what you were thinking when, like, because most people will try to change the mountain or change the environment around them because of because of where they are. And you know, what went through your mind to get you to the point to have that aha moment where you said, you know, this isn't for me?
I think I am, that's a great question. And I think I'm so clear on what my core values are. And the person that I was in business with had violated my core values. And so having extreme clarity on what I stood for and what I was willing to have around me and my boundaries made it really clear for me, this is the wrong mountain. So you'll see, my team will attest to, I will rearrange furniture or paint rooms, or Valencia's laughing, when I just go very quiet when I am processing something. So we had just built a house or bought a house, and I painted my dad's entire downstairs, which is like 700 square feet, with a hand brush and a can of paint for an entire weekend. And the whole family just left me alone. And that was my just total silence of figuring out like what's next, because it wasn't for me, Jaime, it wasn't just about me. It was about the people in my charge. Leadership is not about being in charge. It's about taking care of who's in your charge. And I had people in my charge that I cared a whole lot about, that had sacrificed a lot for us to be where we were. And so I also had to consider in making a move that it was going to affect them in their lives, and they were going to have to take a step back with me, right? And so there were going to be effects that it had on them and their families. And so I just got really quiet, and I got in alignment with my core values. And yeah, there's not a whole ton of them, but when you violate them, we can't be in business together.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I had something.
Yeah, which guy?
I think my biggest aha here is just kind of being reminded and seeing through your story that there really are two sides. You have to fight the battle in your own mind with yourself to continue moving forward. But the other part that I see in your story is that who you're around and who you surround yourself with matters. That climbing the mountain is as much an internal battle as it is the support system and structure and tribe that you have around you. And sometimes the wrong mountain really is the tribe that you're with. And you need the people there to support you to make it through the next thing. And I saw that, you know, the harder part for you to get through talking today was realizing how much those people were important to your journey, and the right people, right?
Yeah.
So I think that just stuck out to me a lot, because I think that those are the two important parts there.
Totally agree. Yeah, the right people know and love you and are there for what you need. You're exactly right. Anybody else have anything they want to share after today? Great discussion. Give it another second. So I hope that from this, you guys go and be people who finish. Go finish your Legion, go finish your contacts in Brevity, do what you say you're going to do and get that preparation. And when the opportunity knocks, you're going to be prepared and you're going to be ready. Get your script practice in. And yeah, like Daniel said, it's just as much mindset as who you're around. So think about what's going on in your head. Like Jaime said, or Casey said, you can be your inner coach or your inner critic. So go be your inner coach, finish what you said you were going to do, and wait for opportunity to knock and knock it out of the park. Y'all have a great Thursday.
Thanks,
Thank you,
Jordan.
George.
Thank you, Jordan.
Jordan.
See
Thanks,
you.
Jordan. Thank you, Jordan.